Good evening and welcome back to the Rory Talks Football channel, your daily Arsenal news, updates, debates and my opinions. If you are new to the channel, please do subscribe. We are on the way to 11,900 subscribers, and if you could click the like button. As always, I would be incredibly grateful. Plenty to get stuck into today. Apologies, I was a minute late and people in the chat are absolutely rioting about it. I was making a video about what happened in the Argentina-Morocco game. Now, we'll get it out of the way. One of the craziest games I've ever seen, if you've not already seen. So the Olympics football basically started today, even though the Olympics technically hasn't started yet because they have to start the football early to get it done. Anyway, Argentina versus Morocco. There are 15 minutes of injury time, which was insane in the first place. Argentina, 2-1 down going into injury time. In the 16th minute of injury time, which had all been accumulated from just like general time wasting from Morocco players and a little pitch invader at one point. That was crazy enough. Argentina score a 16th minute equalizer, right? Then Morocco fans start launching missiles at the Argentina bench. Moroccan fans run onto the field. The ref drags everyone off the pitch. Everyone thinks it's full time because they'd already played 16 minutes of the 15 additional minutes, right? No. 92 minutes later, an hour and a half later, the referee brings the players back onto the pitch to finish the game, and VAR rules the goal offside. The goal that had been scored an hour and a half ago, VAR ruled it offside for the tiniest offside. Game carries on for 3 minutes. Morocco win 2-1. Absolutely unbelievable. Anyway, there's a fun little story for you. Plenty of Arsenal stuff to talk about today, and there's loads of you here, which we love to see. Woodsy, Pekka, Ethan Udall, Vivi Vlad, Pelzer, Sard, Jack Sachs, Emil, Oslo, Icarus, Emilio, Carter, Kazan Hyper, Cringe, Matthew, Sean Slay, Tentego, Loopy, Smithy, Ross Lawman, George Christodoulou, and many, many more. And Max is in the building, and Max has been a member for 1 month. And of course, over that time, he has supported the channel immensely. Rory with the movie intro. I'm waiting for Rory channel to be sponsored by Michael Bay. Much love. 1 month. Woo! Max, it's good to see you. I really do appreciate the support. Thank you for still being a member. And I hope you're doing very well. The Gyökeres train is steaming. Yeah, we're talking a little bit about that. Osimhen's back on the radar today. And out of nowhere, out of absolutely nowhere, we've been hit with an Ornstein bomber. It came about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Arsenal are on the verge of signing a guy called Riccardo Calafiori. I don't know if you've heard about him. Don't know if you've ever heard of him before. He's this Italian centre-back. And just out of nowhere, an Ornstein bomber has hit. And it sounds like we're signing this guy. Absolutely sensational. He said Arsenal and Bologna now have all agreements in place for the signing of Riccardo Calafiori. The player must still undergo medical checks and put pen to paper. However, the deal itself is essentially done. If everything goes to plan, Riccardo Calafiori can be expected to join Arsenal's pre-season tour in the United States. So, I mean, this guy, out of nowhere, joining Arsenal and potentially going on the pre-season tour. Simon Stone from the BBC also said Riccardo Calafiori has been cleared to have his Arsenal medical, and the intention is for him to join up with the club on the current tour of the United States. So, wow. Unbelievable. Finally, the transfer window heats up. But no. Calafiori, finally we got the bomber. We finally got the Ornstein bomber. So now we know it's legitimate. We know finally that it is a legitimate transfer that is happening. Like up the stream, everyone. We've got 100 people. Look, we've got nearly 200 people in about 5 minutes into the stream, which is unbelievable. And yeah, if you could like the video, come on. If we can get it, look, as always, the target is 100 likes on stream. So if we can do that, that would be fantastic. Did love that Romano refused to do the here we go. Well, Romano is still not doing the here we go. He once again this afternoon he said here we go soon. So, you know, I guess if you're a Romano, if you're in Camp Romano, you might still not think it's happening because we've not had a here we go. But there we go. His medical is going to be in America. Yeah, very possibly. Well, I mean, I assume the medical team are out in America, right? So that would make sense. But look, once again today, it's so funny seeing people, and look, it's very normal, but people arguing about what our best defense is going to be, who's going to start in our defense. And it's like, if you put Calafiori at left back and then that means Timber isn't in it, people are like, no, Timber's going to start. Don't disrespect Timber. And then if you play Timber instead of Calafiori, people are like, well, we're not spending 40 million on a player not to start. And then you might drop Ben White and put Timber at right back. Oh, God, no. The disrespect to Ben White. The reality, wow, look at this, sports fans. Aaron has been a member for 10 months. Aaron, the longest supporter of the channel, based on the fact that you continued being a member for about 5 months when I wasn't making content. An absolute legend. I really do appreciate the support that you've given, Aaron. In Turkey on vacation, big 10 months. Well, enjoy the vacation, and thank you very, very much. But yeah, look, the reality is this. We don't have, first of all, anyone that is saying this is our best back four, whether it includes Timber or whether it includes Calafiori, when we've basically never seen either of those back fours before anyway, because we've not seen Rory and Timber, really, and we've not seen Calafiori at all for Arsenal. You can't be judging what the best back four is yet at all. And even if you could, the reality is they will rotate a lot, not just because of fitness and because of resting players, but also because there will be different games that suit different combinations. There will be some games where Timber at left back, inverting into the midfield, is better for us. Games where we're coming up against a really dominant midfield team, you may well look at having Timber to invert into midfield. Games where we know they've got maybe a weak right-hand side defensively and we can capitalise on that, you'd want Calafiori overlapping Martinelli, making use of that. There are different combinations with those 5 main defenders. And even that, saying 5 main defenders is mildly disrespectful to Kivior, Tomiyasu and Zinchenko. But if we look at those 5 as the main 5, I think we're in a good place. We don't need to argue or get upset about who starts. Calafiori starts ahead of Timber, maybe. Or maybe Timber starts ahead of Calafiori. Or maybe both of them start. Who knows? Who knows? Arsenal fans in 2019 fighting on who is our worst defender. Arsenal fans in 2024 fighting who is our best defender. What a difference 5 years makes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, now we're fighting about whether you start Calafiori or Timber. We used to be arguing about whether you start Rob Holding or Shkodran Mustafi. You know, we've come a long way. We've come a long way. Marino looking likely too, and positive talk on forward signings too. This is getting good. I think it will pick up. I think it will start picking up now. There's movement. You know, most teams are beginning to move. We're moving on. Well, not necessarily selling players, but seemingly loaning out players with obligations and options. So I do think things will start. Things have to start speeding up. You know, there's only just over a month of the window left, and I think a lot of teams are. Look, buying teams are being a lot more cautious. Selling teams are being a lot more cautious because PSR has become such a big factor. And so it is just taking a little bit longer, which is fine. It's fine. As long as we get the business done in the end and we don't waste any money. The one thing I don't want to see, and I don't think we will see, is a panic buy towards the end of the window because that just sets you back. But as long as we don't see a panic buy. Aaron, thank you very, very much for the $10 super chat. Absolute legend. I know having defensive depth is great, but it upsets me knowing that we can't see all of them at once because I believe they are all top. Well, you say that. I think we can see all of them if you play Rory and Timber in midfield, which I think is a possibility. I think you could see Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, and then Timber as a midfielder. We could also see, at points this season, a back 5. White, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Timber as a back 5. People will cry. People will genuinely... The people that hate the fact that we've been using lots of defenders, they will cry. Imagine that back 5 with Partey and Declan Rice sat in front of them. Just absolute... Away at the Etihad, just absolutely shithouse a 1-0 win. We will be there. We will be there. I can see Calafiori replacing Gabriel for a few games as well when he needs a rest. Yeah, 100%. 100%. When Gabriel needs a rest, Calafiori starts at left centre-back and Timber starts at left-back. Absolutely. When Saliba needs a rest, White at right-back, Timber at right centre-back, Gabriel at left centre-back and Calafiori at left-back. There will be plenty of occasions where Calafiori and Timber will both play. 100%. Caught Offside are a complete fraud of a site with their leaks. Do not understand why people use them as a source. The issue with Caught Offside is this, and I'll tell you why people use them when they shouldn't use them and why people use them when it's fine to use them. The reason Caught Offside are a problem is because they have credible journalists go on Caught Offside platforms and say things. So I think Fabrizio Romano has a show that he does with Caught Offside. And so if it's coming from Fabrizio Romano on a Caught Offside show, no problem. That's legitimate because it's coming from him. The issue is, yeah, effectively they are an aggregator, right? So the issue comes when it's not coming from someone credible, but people still use Caught Offside as an almost credible source. That's the issue. Your prediction video rattled a few people. Yeah, I don't even know why. I don't know why people get. You make predictions, right? And people get so upset by it. It's White can play centre back too. Yeah, exactly. Well, I think it's interesting whether or not we'll see Timber or White as the right centre back when Saliba needs a break. Because in that behind closed doors game, it was Timber. But I wonder if that's just because we've not. Arteta knows what Ben White at right centre-back looks like. He saw him there for a season. So I think that's quite interesting as well. Let's go for the Premier League defensive record. I mean, why not? Why not? Theoretically, if Saliba were to get injured, would you rather Timber or White start in his place? I actually think Timber because I think Timber is faster and more mobile. And in terms of if you look at what you lose with Saliba, if Saliba was out, if you look at what you lose from him, that's important in that back line, the thing that only he has, not only he has, but that is part of the reason that he works there. It's the pace, it's the recovery pace and the mobility. And I think Timber has more of that than Ben White. The issue with Timber, of course, is his height, right? I feel like a big striker could potentially pin Timber down. But yeah, it would probably be that. And if you do that, if you use Timber, effectively, nothing else changes in the team, right? We're very used to having Ben White at right back, so you don't have to change that. So I'd probably do that, and maybe that's why we're looking at it, but maybe not. Maybe not. Is the news on Arsenal signing Gyökeres reliable? Well, so, okay, bear with me a second, because I've not seen anything about Gyökeres today, unless it happened literally right before the stream whilst I was eating. So I don't know where it's coming from. Does anyone have a thing about where it's coming from? Because I don't. But I've seen a few people mention Gyökeres in the chat. But I don't that was Caught Offside. Team Talk have said it. Arsenal are back in the mix for Victor Gyökeres and have drawn up an opening bid for the striker. Yeah, but who's it coming from though? Like Team Talk have said it, but again, yeah, it's just a Caught Offside thing. So according to Caught Offside, Arsenal are preparing to begin negotiations over the signing of Victor Gyökeres for around 55 to 60 million pounds, but Sporting want his 86 million pound release clause paid in full. Chelsea are also aware of the situation. Yeah, I'll wait for something more credible than that. I mean, I know we used Leonino as a source before. But yeah, I think we'll wait for something a little bit more credible. Did you see that Sky Sports are reporting that Calafiori deal cost 43 million, raising to 50 million? They're making up figures again, same as Fabio, Trossard, and Kivior. Yes, Sky Sports do that. I mean, Fabrizio has actually been ahead of the curve on this at every single point. And he said it was 40 million euros. So who even are the journalists on Caught Offside? Well, that's the thing, right? So if it's a credible journalist on Caught Offside, they will post the name of the journalist. If it's not a credible journalist, they won't. It will just say Caught Offside as the source, which means it hasn't actually come from anyone useful. If Gyökeres is gettable for 50 to 60 million, then that's a no-brainer for me. We simply have to get him at that price. Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I think 70 is probably the maximum I think I'd go up to. I'd pay 70 for him. Anyway, speaking of strikers, and we will come back to Gyökeres potentially, Di Marzio today. Victor Osimhen does not want to go to Saudi Arabia, while other offers for the player have been lower than Napoli's demands. It is worth paying attention to the Premier League it is possible that Arsenal could present an offer sooner or later. And this is what I've been predicting will happen. And I think it could happen with Osimhen. I think it could happen with Gyökeres. Those clubs need to sell those players this summer. Napoli have to sell Victor Osimhen this summer. They cannot afford not to. A season with Osimhen, with no European football, even if they do relatively well in Serie A next season, which there's no guarantee of, his price will go down. He won't be on the market in the European competitions. They have to sell him this summer. No one wants to pay what they want. They had big negotiations with PSG, and eventually it got to the point where PSG turned around and said no. They can't force him out of the club to go to Saudi Arabia. He does not want to go to Saudi Arabia. It may well get to the point later in the window where that price has to come down and clubs start floating offers. And Arsenal go in and say, well, we'll give you 75 mil. Take it or leave it. And at some point, Osimhen, PSG, Napoli might have to say, yeah, okay, we've got to get it done. PSG won't buy Osimhen at that price, 110 mil, no way. It's 110 million euros. So what's 110 million? What's 110 million euros in pounds? What's 110 million? So it's 90. Currently, Napoli are holding on for 92 million pounds, which is already, by the way, that's already come down from what it was. At its highest, they wanted 130 million euros for him. Now it's down to 110 million euros. That's about 92 million pounds. And again, similarly to Gyökeres, if that gets down to 70, 75, I think you take it at that point. At that point, the value is there. At that point, it's not as much of a gamble. Now, who will go for that if it gets down to that point? Chelsea will be sniffing around. PSG might come back in. It'll be interesting. Where to watch Arsenal versus Bournemouth? On the Arsenal website, arsenal.com. It does cost £5 though. But yeah, arsenal.com. Thing is, if Sporting want the Gyökeres fee up front in one go, no team will do that. No. I mean, what will happen realistically is it will more than likely end up being similar to the Xerxes deal. So United paid more than Xerxes' release clause by a little bit so that they could pay it in installments rather than in one lump sum. So you could do it like that. But yeah, I think if the value's there, Osimhen will move this summer. He will. And there aren't that many teams that are in the mix for him. There aren't. And realistically, I mean, PSG's an interesting one because they've not sold Gonzalo Ramos, have they? So they've got Kolo Muani, who they spent whatever it was, 90 million. They've got Gonzalo Ramos, who they spent about 60, 70 million on. I don't know if they can do. I don't really know why they're in for Osimhen. Due to PSR, no one will pay the release clause. One time, no option. No, I agree. So that's an interesting one to keep an eye on. And then, yeah, obviously Gyökeres as well. So hopefully that will be the move that we start making, though. I do want to see us start moving for an attacking player. We've just got to wait and see. Other news. Fabrizio Romano today had an exclusive. Leicester City have opened talks with Arsenal for Reiss Nelson. Loan deal with obligation to buy. In talks over financial terms with Arsenal. Leicester confident that they can persuade Nelson if the clubs can come to terms, as he previously worked with Steve Cooper. So obviously he worked with Steve Cooper. Where would that have been? At England? Was that at England? And then, yeah, now he's obviously the coach of Leicester. I mean, it's another loan. They're talking about an obligation. Now, look, a loan with an obligation is fine, unless you need the money now. And so that's the only point where I'd start having a problem, right? All of these loans with obligations to buy next summer, it just means we're going to get a lot of money next summer, right? That, whether it's if Nketiah ends up at Marseille on loan with an obligation, we've got Nuno Tavares has gone on loan with an obligation. Sambi Lukongas is a loan with an option, not an obligation, so that's not guaranteed. And then the same with the only issue is if they put something in there along the lines of basically the only issue with doing Leicester City is if the option or obligation includes them not having to do it if they get relegated, because I think they're going to get relegated. And that would become a big problem. But look, if we can get it done, and then the only other thing would be, I don't want the club then complaining that we can't sign players this summer because we haven't got the money because we haven't made sales. If we can avoid that, if we're doing fine in terms of PSR and we don't need the money this summer, it makes sense to do it next summer. It makes sense to actually have the loan and then have them buy them next summer, because it actually means that in the 3-year cycle of PSR, all of that money will have another year beyond that where that money will count if we don't need it this summer. So it's not actually too bad. Arsenal can put the fee on the books this summer and impacts our spending next summer, which is when I think we sign that top midfielder to replace. Well, that's the thing. If we've decided that we're not going to buy the top midfielder or the top attacker, and we've seen that, right? In fact, they do kind of coincide. We've been told we're not going to make that big marquee signing this summer. And so in that case, actually having those sales next summer when we make that marquee signing, yeah, it could be more useful for us. So Reece Nelson scores a 97th minute winner against Bournemouth to keep Leicester in the Premier League. That would be scenes. What's happening with Rambo? Not a lot. There's more speculation about him going on loan. But as it stands, not a lot is happening with Ramsdale. So, yeah. You know, someone said, and I mean, I'm interested to hear what you think about this, but someone said Ramsdale, if he really wanted it, potentially could have come straight back from the Euros and gone straight into pre-season. Because if Ramsdale was on pre-season, he'd basically play all of the pre-season games himself. You know, we might have seen some of the academy players get minutes, but without Raya being there, he had an opportunity, which he's not taken. But I don't know. Equally, he might just feel like that would have been a complete waste of time because he's not going to get game time anyway because Arteta's already made his decision. So I can see both perspectives. Vegas Gunner, thank you very, very much for the $5 super chat. That is greatly appreciated. How difficult is it to get out of a loan obligation? I feel like some of these clubs can weasel out of the deal at the end. Well, it depends how tight the wording of it is. It depends how tight the wording of the obligation is. So in some obligations, it will be, you know, there will be things. It will be, okay, this, you know, the club has to buy the player if they survive in the Premier League, or if the player makes 15 appearances. I remember there was an interesting one when Chris Wood went from where was it? When he went to Nottingham Forest, basically. Was it from Newcastle to Nottingham Forest? And basically, it was like, if he makes 5 appearances, you have to buy him. And they triggered it. And then he literally only made 5 appearances. And it was like 20 million quid. So it all depends on how it's worded. You would hope that Arsenal will word it in a way that makes sure that they pretty much have to do it. But that's the important thing. Bayern are 10-1 up. Well, pre-season, presumably. Who are they against? Who are Bayern against? I don't know. I don't know who they're against. Lol, bad business. Similar, yeah, Lewis Hall. Yeah, Lewis Hall's another one. Likes. Yeah, please do click the like button if you've not done already. Have you seen the Chiesa links? Yeah, there are some very, very minor Chiesa links. I didn't even bother writing it down. Basically, Chiesa is probably going to move this summer, but no one has had any interest in him other than Arsenal, who made like a very nothing approach. Like, we've not actually tried to buy him. We just made an inquiry about Chiesa. But I don't think we're going to get Chiesa. I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of interest in him at all, to be honest. He's not Arsenal's level. I don't think Chiesa is Arsenal's level at this point. Pablo Mari had an obligation for the move to Monza if they survived relegation, which they did. Exactly, yeah. I remember literally supporting Monza to make sure that Pablo Mari had to go. So that, yeah, there's lots of things like that. Do you like Ferdi Kadioglu? I do. I think he'd be a different style of signing if we went for him, but no, I like Kadioglu. Well, I say that, right? How much have I actually seen of him? Not a lot. I thought he looked decent at the Euros, but do you think we could offer Wolves 35 to 40 million for Neto? There's no real interest in him. Maybe towards the end of the window. I think you could get him for 40 at a push. I think Man United actually apparently are interested in him. I have heard that. Desiree Doué, by the way, I think whoever it was that was preparing a bid for Desiree Doué, I can't remember if it was PSG or Bayern, 60 million. 60 million euros. So whatever that is, like 50 odd million quid for Desiree Doué. Now, don't get me wrong. I think he's a promising talent. But again, we're at this position where you're paying like PSG, yeah. We're in this position where you're paying top dollar for a prospect. And it's I really do want us where we can to avoid these sorts of things. Because you're paying, if Desiree Doué turns out to live up to the potential, then he's maybe worth 80, but you've already paid 60. It's I don't know. I find that a little bit crazy. When you could go for, I mean, even if you went for a Pedro Neto, at least he's a bit more proven. Anyway, there you go. So that's Reece Nelson. He might end up leaving on loan as well. Fabrizio also talking about Jakub Kiwior. So a thing came last night from Calcio Mercato, I think, which suggested that Kiwior was really close to Inter Milan. But Fabrizio came out this morning and kind of put a bit of a dampener on that one. He said Arsenal have not received any approach from Inter Milan for Jakub Kiwior. Nothing is agreed, even on the player side. Kiwior remains available on the market, but Arsenal now want a permanent loan, a permanent move, or a loan with a mandatory buy clause. He could leave with Calafiori joining. So again, Kiwior might be another one that goes on loan with an obligation to buy. We shall see. Just got a ticket for tonight's game. A ticket to actually be at the game in person. You'll love to see it. Barella to Inter, good move. I don't know. Did you see Simon Collins' report about the youth academy plans? Yeah, I was just about to talk about that. So on the academy, Secret Scout said Arsenal and Newcastle have made late moves for 15-year-old midfielder Kyron Thompson from West Ham. I'm not sure if you pronounce that Kyron or Kiran. I think Kyron. Anyway, Kyron Thompson from West Ham. The player had been set to join Tottenham Hotspur, but both clubs have presented their projects to Thompson in the last 10 days, with a decision expected soon. So we may well be going after another academy player. And this ties into what Simon Collins said today. And this ties into kind of everything that people have been talking about with the academy, with losing players, obviously losing Chido. But Simon Collins said Arsenal are aware that the level required of young players to break into the first team has gone up. And that is why the club have now embarked on an aggressive recruitment drive at youth level. So, I assume he meant Barella from Inter. Which I wouldn't mind. I just don't think it will happen. I don't think it will happen. I wouldn't mind it. So yeah, on the academy, look, I think we're in this situation where, like we said, the issue is, and when people talk about, it's 5 years since you've integrated an academy product into the starting 11, it is. But the starting 11, or even the starting squad, has improved so much over that 5-year period that we might have had academy players that were ready to make the step up through that time. But by the time they're actually ready to make the step up, the ship has sailed. The squad is too far ahead of them. And the best example you can actually look at for that is when we bought Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus. When we bought Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus, they joined and were almost like two of the best 5 players in our squad. They were massive in terms of elevating us. And within a year, all of a sudden, they're not starting players because of how quickly the level have gone up. So how many academy players are there that were reaching the level of being able to push for the starting squad, the senior squad, but got left behind because the level increased? And I think that's what Arsenal have discovered. And we're in title races. Realistically, you can't be taking risks with academy players during a title race. And people will say, but what about earlier in the season? The way it is with Man City, when you're competing against Man City, the whole season is a title race. And I think it's fine. And look, when you look at someone like Tommy Setford, right? The Ajax goalkeeper that we've brought in at academy level. Yeah. Ajax genuinely believe it's an absolute steal. Ajax thought that he could go on to become their number 1 in the future. And this is where we are now upgrading. And it means we're spending a bit of money as well. Tommy Setford cost nearly £1 million. But I think it has to be done. And then people give examples from other teams, right? People give examples from other teams. Oscar Bob. I saw someone earlier on Twitter saying, well, Man City gave their academy product, Oscar Bob, a chance, and he scored, and that won them 3 points that won them the league. Oscar Bob is 20 years old. He is a fully fledged Norwegian international, and he didn't play at all for the academy last season. So, and that's the first one behind what? Rico Lewis, Cole Palmer to an extent, and then Phil Foden. In what, 5 years? And then if you actually look at the fact that during that 5 years, arguably the last 10 years, Man City have been buying up all of the best talent at academy level. That's what they've been doing. They go around, they sweep up all of the best academy talent at youth level. And even then, only 3 or 4 have eventually just about made it into the City team in that period of time. And they're the club that you're trying to compete with. And so, yeah, Cozier Dubry, as an example, scored 2 as a sub for Brighton today. I think Cozier Dubry could do really well at Brighton. But if Cozier Dubry does really well at Brighton, and by really well, I mean Matoma level really well, that still doesn't necessarily mean that he was good enough to break through at Arsenal. It means he's a very good player. The fact is, to break through at Arsenal now, you need to be a Bukayo Saka, and they just don't come around that often. And so I feel like, and by the way, right, what a position we are in, that one of the biggest things that we're complaining about is the academy. Like, one of our biggest concerns right now is academy players and whether or not they're getting time playing. Because that, from where we used to be, where 7, 8, 9 of our starting 11 were horrible to watch, I think is it's good. It's a good sign. Arsenal have only had 8 players in the 21st century that came through the academy and gone on to play 100 games for us. People massively overhype academy prospects. Yeah. I mean, that's the reality of it. And it was like we said yesterday. How many academy products have we let go that have gone on to be title-winning players or title-contending players? Very, very few. Very few indeed. It's unusual. Aaron, thank you very, very much for another $5 super chat. That is incredibly grateful. I hope Nwaneri comes into the squad and plays some games next season. I think he will. But even then, you got to bear in mind, Nwaneri is 16 years old. But is he 17 yet? I think he's still 16, right? Wait, let me check. Let me check how old he is. I think, I want to say he's still 16. He's 17. But even still, 17 years old, he's still 3 years behind Oscar Bob, who just about started getting game time for City this season. Now, I think he should be getting game time. I want to see him a lot in pre-season. I want to see him in Carabao Cup games. I want to see him coming off the bench. But there's still no risk. There's rush, sorry. There's still no rush. And there's no point taking massive risks on him. So, yeah. I think it's been a problem that's been blown out of proportion because people want something to be negative about. And we all know that there are plenty of people that want to find negativity. Now, is our academy the best run academy in the country? No, not right now. It's not. Are we making steps to try and make it the best in the country? Yes. Will those steps take time? Yes. Will we have to restore a level of trust in our academy that you will be developed and you will have chances? Yes. There's a lot of work to do, but I think we're doing that work. Lamine has just turned 17 and he's crazy, but Lamine Yamal is a complete and utter outlier. And this is what people do. People start comparing and go, well, Lamine Yamal's doing it for Barcelona and for Spain. Why can't this player? Lamine Yamal was the youngest player to score in whatever it was, younger than Pele. This is what we're talking about. Historically, record-breaking in what he's doing. That's a complete outlier. Vegas Gunner, thank you very, very much for another $5 as well. That is incredibly grateful from you. The issue is that too many of the academy players are leaving for free. We should try to tie them down to a contract, loan them, then sell them for a fee. That I completely agree with. That I do think that we have been outplayed by Chelsea, by whoever else in terms of other clubs are better at getting money for their academy products. And that we need to get better at. And that will come. That will come as we improve the academy. We improve the academy. People think that they're going to be better off in their career by staying at the academy. We can tie them down, then we can sell them. It's all part of the process. And look, hopefully it will come. Hopefully it will come. Yamal's a 1 in a million talent. Exactly. So, thoughts on Madrid? 1 billion revenue. I'm not surprised. I mean, is all of it legit? Maybe not, but why do Barca keep producing these outliers and not us? This should bother us. Because Barcelona probably had the best academy setup in the world for a long, long period of time. La Masia, but not only La Masia, they had Barcelona had scouting operations set up around the world for a long time. It's almost incomparable to what we do or to what any, the closest is, at the moment probably is Man City, but it's not even close. So Barcelona did $1 billion in 2017 and 2019. The $1 billion is nothing new. Fair enough. Yeah, but how much of that was legit? Because now they're absolutely broke. So I don't know how much of that is legit. Yeah, La Masia and Hale End is incomparable. Absolutely incomparable. The Bournemouth game will show who will play right centre-back when Saliba's injured or rested. Yeah, potentially. I'm really, genuinely, the most exciting part of this friendly for me is actually going to be the starting lineup. I want to see the starting lineup because I want to see who Arteta is interested in from the academy. I want to see which youth players he wants to see a lot of. And I want to see things like that, White and Timber and how they sit themselves. So, yeah, it's exciting. But look, anyway, that is it for the news. It is now time for Guess the Gooner, the game where I give you 5 clues about an ex or current Arsenal player, and you have to guess who that player is in the chat. First person to get it right wins the immense pride and respect of the Rory Talks Football community. So get your fingers on your keyboards because we are starting now. Clue number 1, this player is 42 years old. Clue number 1, this player is 42 years old. And no, George, I don't think Carl Hayne will be number 2. I think he'll go out on loan. Clue number 2, this player scored more goals for Sevilla than any other club. Clue number 2, this player scored more goals for Sevilla than any other club. Clue number 3, they scored 10 goals in 35 games for Arsenal. Clue number 3, they scored 10 goals in 35 games for Arsenal. Clue number 4, they made 47 appearances for Brazil. Clue number 4, they made 47 appearances for Brazil. And clue number 5, they joined Arsenal on loan from Real Madrid. Clue number 5, they joined Arsenal on loan from Real Madrid. Who is the player? Who is the player? Who is the player? Right. See who got it first. It was a difficult one, by the way. It was a difficult one today. So, there you go. Who was first? First was Mr. was first. It was indeed Julio Baptista. And Mr. got it first. Ethan Udall was second. Vivi Vlad was third. Nuances of Fate was fourth. And El Minister was fifth. So there you go. Congratulations, Mr. Hopefully no VAR check. But I'm pretty sure. VAR goal given from Ultra Pro Gamer. You'll love to see it. The Anfield hero? Yeah, exactly. The Anfield hero. What? I mean, that was his Arsenal career, pretty much. That was basically his Arsenal career. I only tuned in for the second clue. That was shameful. I should have got that much earlier. No, I feel like it was a bit of a tricky one. I do feel like it was a bit of a tricky one. But there you go. Mr. got it first. And now it is time for Guess the Non-Gooner. I'm going to give you the entire career path of a player who does not and has not played for Arsenal. And you have to guess who that player is in the chat. First person to get it right wins the immense pride and respect of the Rory Talks Football community, but not as much respect as Mr. currently has. This player started their career at Celta Vigo. They started their career at Celta Vigo. They went to Liverpool. At Liverpool, they went on loan to Sevilla. They then moved permanently to Sevilla. They then moved permanently back to Celta Vigo. So Celta Vigo, Liverpool, loan to Sevilla, permanently to Sevilla, permanently back to Celta Vigo. I feel like it's a relatively easy one, especially if you play a lot of FIFA, because he's just always been the highest rated card from that club. And the first person to get it was Ethan Udall. Ethan Udall was first. Ross Lawman was second. Mr. Mister was third. MC Gaming was fourth. And MM was fifth. So there you go. Congratulations to Mr. and Ethan Udall. Congratulations. By the way, I want to make an unfortunate announcement. This is the last stream until next Tuesday. I know the intro says it's your daily Arsenal news, but unfortunately, fortunately for me in many ways, I'm away for the next few days. So there will not be another YouTube stream until next Tuesday, Tuesday the 30th, where we will be back at 6:30. I apologize. It also means something I've completely forgotten. There will not be a watch along for the Man United preseason game, which originally I had been planning. There will not be a watch along for that. So, I'm sorry. There will still be TikToks. There will still be the daily 15 trophies challenge. They will remain. So, you'll be able to watch those. But in terms of Tifo for Bournemouth, no Tifo. There's Twitch tonight. There is Twitch tonight. There's no watch along tonight, and then there will be no streams until Tuesday. So, look, I apologize. But I have to say, I appreciate the support that you lot have been showing. Over the last couple of weeks, especially, the streams, we've been hitting 350, 400 viewers. It's been amazing. So I really do appreciate all of you. Tonight, Vegas, AFC Max, Aaron, thank you very much for the support with the super chats and the memberships. But there we go. Until Tuesday, I bid you farewell. Please do like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Have a fantastic evening, a fantastic weekend when it arrives, and I'll catch you next Tuesday. Goodbye.